What's up, everyone? The internal whispers are screaming because some recent decisions have totally blown up people's minds. The first one involves who's in and who's out, and that immediately flipped the warning lights on. Then there's the whole deal with the rookie who scared the hell out of everyone, but looks like he's coming back strong. We also got a wild projection for the defense's future, something no one saw coming right now. And on top of all that, there was a major freakout over our offensive leader, and the final outcome was a genuine shocker. But before we dive into this whole mess, smash that subscribe button. It's free, man, and it fuels this whole operation. Drop a like to spread this fire to all the Charger faithful, and stay right here with me, because I'm going to keep you updated every single day with the latest Bolts news. So check it. Even before we kicked off against the Steelers, Harbaugh decided to scratch some guys, and it shook the locker room in a way very few people expected. The inactive list featured Jefferson and Dissly, and you could kind of understand the Dissly situation since Gadston's been absolutely eating his lunch, and Conklin is stepping up big time in the rotations. But still, hearing Harbaugh say Dissly simply hadn't earned the right to be active right now, that was a direct, almost brutal message, you know? And with Jefferson, that stung even more. The guy had just gotten called back up to the main roster, was having that feel-good moment the fans love to track, and then boom, he's inactive again. That caught the fans completely off guard because it looked like he was about to cement his spot. And that's where the name RJ Mickens pops up. He's been playing with an unexpected consistency for where he is in his career, sharing the field with Molden and Derwin James without looking lost for a second. Are you kidding me? The impact of all this goes way beyond just one game. Harbaugh made it crystal clear that this fight for snaps is going to stay heavyweight until the end of the season, and it changes the entire defense. Mickens' presence shifts how the secondary rotates. It gives Molden more freedom to attack certain concepts, and it lets Derwin James play with that aggressive, heat-seeking missile style that we absolutely love. Practically speaking, this new depth gives the team a ton of weapons to face different offenses without having to scramble and improvise in a panic. And on offense, even with Dissly's status changing, having Gadsden explode and Conklin maintaining a steady level makes that whole group way more versatile. These decisions show the staff trusts the young bucks and won't be afraid to sit a veteran if the production dips. That puts real pressure on everyone because nobody wants to be the next guy to lose their spot. Now, speaking as a fan, I love this attitude. Harbaugh isn't there to make friends. He's there to build the best damn team possible. If Dissly isn't delivering, he's going to sit. If Jefferson is getting outpaced by Mickens' rhythm, tough luck. That's just the league, man. You can't live off past glory or a nice story. And seriously, I get pumped when I see these young guys performing because that shapes a winning culture. A team that thrives on strong internal competition usually arrives more prepared for the big playoff games. Plus, seeing Harbaugh talk straight gives you that sense of security that he has a clear plan, even when the fan base is scratching its head over certain calls. The craziest part is that few people outside this fan base realize how crucial this is right now. This rotation isn't accidental. It's happening with intention. Harbaugh is fine-tuning the roster for the home stretch, and the fight for spots is only going to intensify over these next few weeks. You snooze, you lose, and whoever steps up is going to be a huge part of the plan for the rest of the season. So hit the comments and tell me what you thought of these choices, if you would have done things differently, or if you agree with this iron fist approach. I want to see your opinion because this is going to keep the debate fire burning. But what came next caught everyone totally by surprise. Now hold on to your helmets, because this next piece of news, I guarantee, affected a lot of hearts this past Sunday. When Gadsden went down grabbing his leg, the first reaction was that heavy silence. Everyone watching and thinking, oh, no, not again. He walked off looking uncomfortable, tried to stretch it out, tried to get back in, but the staff decided to hold him. And at that moment, it looked like a major problem was brewing. The camera showed him favoring his right leg, and you were already picturing MRIs, a week on the sidelines, maybe even more. But then, on Monday, a better light started to shine, and when Harbaugh showed up to talk, the atmosphere completely changed. That supposed knee scare turned out to be just a nasty contusion on his thigh. So, get this. In the end, it was only a bruise. That's insane. This completely flips the script. First, because the offense relies heavily on his presence right now. The kid has become that safety blanket for Herbert, especially on third downs and in clutch situations. Without him, the playbook shrinks a bit, defenses get bolder with pressure, and the offensive flow suffers. So getting the announcement that he would not only practice on Wednesday, but practice fully, was a giant relief. Harbaugh didn't hide anything. He said straight up that the kid is fine, said he wanted to return to the game itself, and that the decision to bench him was more about caution than major concern. That sends a powerful message. The team believes in the kid, trusts his preparation, and wants him fully healthy for this upcoming brutal stretch. And when you look at the matchup against Jacksonville, it's clear how much this matters. Their defense is intense, they hit hard, and they tend to double team the most reliable threats. Having Gadston available helps Herbert keep the ball moving at the right rhythm. Now, as a fan, I'm blown away by his maturity. The guy arrived as a rookie, but he talks, moves, and reacts like a veteran. He doesn't disappear from the game. He doesn't get intimidated. He doesn't get lost on the reads. And here's the crazy detail. He's producing consistently. When you look at his recent run, over 60 yards per game in the last month, you see that his curve is only going up. And that monster game against the Colts, with 164 yards, showed he already has the potential to dominate games single-handedly. Come on, man, sometimes you forget he's only in his first year. Herbert trusts him in a way that doesn't happen by accident, and the staff sees him as a centerpiece, not a gamble. Even after leaving the game, he wanted back in. That speaks volumes. And there's another point few people are realizing. This quick return changes how Jacksonville will prep their defensive plan. If they thought he was out, they could focus on other areas. Now, with him cleared, they have to divide their attention. That creates openings, forces adjustments, and creates space for plays that were a little too sticky in recent weeks. So comment below if you think he's already an essential part of the offense, or if it's still too early to put that weight on the kid's shoulders. I'm curious to see your take. But not everything is sunshine and roses, and what comes next could change the future of the defense. Check out what happened. While the fan base was still processing the news of the week, one of those ridiculously early mock drafts started circulating, and in it, they had the Chargers selecting Caden McDonald, the Ohio State defensive tackle who is getting attention for the way he locks down the middle of the line. And honestly, when you look at what the team has done in the last year, relying on short contract veterans, trying to squeeze the maximum out of the group with Minter adjusting the scheme, you can understand why a name like this pops up early. The start of the season had some holes. The run defense was up and down, but it's more stable now. Even so, the need is definitely there. McDonald fits that profile of a big, strong guy who jams the center of the line, something many fans have been screaming for. The impact of a pick like that would be enormous. First, because it directly changes the defensive structure. With a player of his caliber occupying two blockers, you free up the rest of the guys to attack the backfield with more freedom. Minter likes to use heavy rotation. He likes to move the interior guys to create different angles, and someone like McDonald fits perfectly into that blueprint. Plus, you solve a long-term problem, stability in the middle. He wouldn't arrive to be a pass-rushing star. That's not his game. But he would arrive to deliver that dirty work that many people don't notice, but completely changes the lives of the linebackers behind him. And, of course, having a guy who is dominating in college with this level of consistency helps a lot when you think about the transition to the pros. His stats have exploded this year, way up from his previous numbers. That shows real evolution, not luck. Now, speaking as a fan, I'm torn. On one hand, I love the idea of fortifying the interior. We've seen seasons where the team struggled to stop simple running plays, and that cost us games. Putting in someone who arrives with a high grade in that aspect is tempting. But at the same time, the draft is always a roller coaster. You never know how a player is going to react when he's facing NFL offensive lines every Sunday. Even so, from what I've seen of McDonald, the guy is consistent. He doesn't get lost in traffic. He doesn't lose his gap. He doesn't miss a basic read. And when he finds the runner, he destroys the play. Man, listen, that kind of instinct isn't common for such a young player. We know he still needs to refine his pass rush moves, but you can mold that over time. And if he's already strong at what the team needs most, he's absolutely worth considering. And there's something else few people are talking about. Just appearing so early in these mocks shows that his name is rising among the analysts. If he keeps this pace, He might not even be available when the Chargers pick. That adds even more spice to this discussion, because maybe it's time to really pay attention to him, watch him closer in the next few games, and see if this ascent continues. So comment below if you think the Chargers should invest heavily in the middle of the defensive line, or if there's another position that worries you more right now. I want to hear your vision. And that's when everything turned around, because the last piece of news puts the focus back on the offensive leader. Now hold on tight, because this last piece of news involves the guy who conducts everything on the field. In the game against the Steelers, Herbert took more hits than he should have. There were plays where he got up limping. There were hits that looked like those tackles the league has been penalizing heavily. And with every hit, you could feel the fan base holding its breath. What made it even tenser was that it wasn't an isolated incident. It was several hard contacts, the kind that accumulate and leave your body marked the next day. But then came the answer every fan needed to hear. Harbaugh appeared before practice and dropped that Herbert was going to participate normally in Wednesday's activities. No limitations, no special adaptations. He just spoke like, "It's all good, move on." And that brought an absurd amount of calm to the whole environment. The impact of this update is gigantic. First, because Herbert is the engine of the offense. When he's not physically 100%, the whole system feels it. The reads get quicker under pressure, his movement in the pocket decreases, and the play calling has to be more conservative. But, by the looks of it, none of that should happen this time. And there's another layer to this news. The offensive line is likely getting reinforcements. Hart returned to practice and has a chance to play, and Penning, who arrived recently, is getting more and more adapted to the scheme. That completely changes the protection dynamic. You bring two more players into the fight for snaps and create a healthy competition, which usually raises the level of the entire group. If Herbert is already showing new mobility this year, imagine him with more stable protection. It's this kind of detail that can decide a tight game, especially against defenses that like to send creative pressure like Jacksonville's. Now, speaking as a fan, I gotta tell you, I was worried on Sunday. Herbert getting up kind of crooked, adjusting his hip, taking a deep breath. And no one wants to see that movie again. Last year was full of small injuries that, added up, took away his explosiveness at several moments. But seriously, you can see he's different this year. He's stronger, faster, more confident to run when he needs to. And the fact that he went through all those hits and is still cleared without restrictions shows that his preparation is on an absurd level. That's a huge deal. It's a sign that he's ready to withstand the grind of the final stretch without losing the identity of his game. And honestly, I really like Harbaugh's approach in these moments. He doesn't create drama. He doesn't blow smoke. He doesn't stir up confusion. If Herbert had any real limitation, he would have said he was going to evaluate him. But no, he nailed it that the guy is normal, and that speaks volumes. And there's something few people are commenting on. With a healthy Herbert and a reinforced line, the offense can regain that flow that has been shaky. The last few games showed flashes, but consistency was missing. Now there's a chance to really click into gear. So comment below if you think Herbert is going to accelerate even more this week, or if you'd remain cautious given so many hard contacts. I want to hear your opinion. Look, after all this, you can see the team is moving at a different pace. Harbaugh's decisions, Gadsden's quick recovery, the possibility of investing heavily in the middle of the defense, and Herbert showing up fully healthy after that tough game all point to a roster that's reacting, growing, and adjusting by force of will. If this attitude continues, the final stretch promises to be absolutely epic. Comment below. This space is for everyone who lives and breathes the Chargers. I'll catch you in the next video.